In 1982, the hit Steven Spielberg produced haunted house movie Poltergeist was released, and it was very successful, with it being one of the biggest movies of that year. It tells the story of a family getting terrorized by evil spirits in their home, whom are angry because that house was built over their graves, and thus their remains have been mistreated. However, during the making of the original Poltergeist trilogy, several members of the cast would pass away, some in truly devastating circumstances. These series of events had led to the urban legend of the Poltergeist curse, and that in the real world, the angry spirits have gone after members of the cast and crew of the Poltergeist movies, as if the events of the movie have somehow bled into the reality, and that Poltergeist has now become the product of non-fiction prophecy, with this beloved horror movie classic now becoming meta with our reality.
Poltergeist. It knows what scares you.
So today we are going to be exploring the curious case of the Poltergeist curse, one of the most creepy and disturbing urban legends associated with pop culture. But just a reminder, there is some pretty grim heavy subject matter, as this tale does unfortunately deal with real people who actually really did die. So we're going to explore this subject respectfully as we try and figure out what on earth was the Poltergeist curse and is it real. But let's check it out. So I guess in order to understand the curse, we'll have to explore a sort of timeline of events as they happened. It all starts in 1981, when Steven Spielberg was making a haunted house movie. The supposed curse aside, Poltergeist was already a movie surrounded in controversy. A major element of the movie is about 5-year-old Carol Ann Freeling being pulled into another dimension via her bedroom closet. Well, acclaimed science fiction writer Richard Matheson called foul on this, as he felt that this was a basic retelling of a 1962 Twilight Zone episode that he wrote called Little Girl Lost, in which a little girl accidentally gets trapped in another dimension, with the gateway of this strange dimension being within the little girl's bedroom. Matheson filed a lawsuit, but the case was settled out of court. Then there's the issue of who even directed Poltergeist. Having come up with the movie's story, Spielberg very much wanted to direct the movie. Spielberg was making Poltergeist with MGM Studios at the same time he was also working with Universal Pictures on E.T. So Spielberg's vision was to make both movies simultaneously back to back. But Universal didn't like this, as they wanted Spielberg to solely put all his focus into E.T., and so they put a ban on him directing Poltergeist as well. So the truly excellent Texas Chainsaw Massacre director Tobe Hooper was hired to direct Poltergeist, with Spielberg working on the movie but as a producer. But over the years there have been several stories and theories that Tobe Hooper being the movie's director was just a cover-up, and that Spielberg was the true director of Poltergeist. Even members of the cast have spoken about how they feel that Spielberg was the true director, or at least co-director. And there are many on-set photos where it does indeed look like Spielberg is directing, with him at best at least being a very hands-on producer. All these controversies aside, Poltergeist was released in June 1982 and would make nearly $123 million on its $10 million budget, with it becoming the 8th highest grossing movie of 1982 and would be nominated for 3 Academy Awards. However, among the success and accolades, tragedy would strike when Dominique Dunne, who played eldest Freeling's sibling, Dana, was killed at the hands of her abusive ex-boyfriend, exactly 4 months after the release of Poltergeist. Dunne's ex-boyfriend showed up at her place of residence, and after a verbal altercation took place, this abusive loser ended the young life of a talented young actress. In a cruel twist, despite having a history of assaulting previous girlfriends, and the fact that during the murder trial of Dominic Dunn, this guy lunged himself at the judge due to his bad temper, he was only sentenced to 6 years in prison. However, he only served 2, with the murder being considered a crime of passion, which Dunn's family, rightfully so, labelled as an injustice. Not only did this guy have a history of hurting others, but also Dunn herself, as that was the cause of her to end their relationship, where the boyfriend, who was a chef, would also do other really weird and disturbing things to try and get her back, like create a chocolate likeness of her face, which is just weird. And sadly, she lost her life at just the age of 22. And from here, the tragedies and odd occurrences would only continue. In 1986, the long-awaited Poltergeist 2: The Other Side came out, this time without Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper at the helm. Now, Poltergeist 2 didn't share the same success as its predecessor, as it would only make $75 million, nor did it receive the same level of acclaim. However, it did arguably have one of the creepiest movie boogeymen in the history of cinema. This time, the evil of Poltergeist was given a face, in the form of the ghost of an old cult leader called Reverend Kane. The part was played with delightful menace by an actor called Julian Beck. At the time of filming, Beck was terminally ill, hence his deathly gaunt appearance in the movie, which does serendipitously add to his creepy factor. And during the shoot of Poltergeist 2, Beck would sadly succumb to his illness, with special effects techniques having to be used to make up for the actor's absence. Poltergeist 2 also featured another new character called Taylor, a shaman who arrives to help the Freelings from their supernatural terrors. The part was played by actor Will Sampson, who also appeared in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Sadly, just over 1 year after the release of Poltergeist 2, Sampson would also pass away from kidney failure. Okay, so there are now several strange and tragic deaths associated with the Poltergeist movies. And observers do start to notice this and talk about this, and ask, okay, what's going on here? Why are all these people dying? But events would shockingly change forever and reach its peak during the making of Poltergeist 3. So in 1988, Poltergeist 3 came out, and this time the reception was just abysmal, only making $14 million, with the reviews this time ranging from terrible to really terrible.
Our next movie is named Poltergeist 3, and this is one of those movies you cannot possibly endure if you have even the smallest shred of common sense. Carol Ann! Carol Ann! Even the audience was joining in. Carol Ann! Carol Ann! I must have heard the name Carol Ann 1,000 times.
No.
In this sequel, which sees Carol Ann now living with her aunt and uncle in the city of Chicago, where she once again is terrorized by the ghostly unrest of the other side. Now, if you watch Poltergeist 3, you'll see that Carol Ann actress Heather O'Rourke has what appears to be really puffy cheeks. This was due to medication that she was on at the time, as she was misdiagnosed with having Crohn's disease. And sadly, it was during the time of making Poltergeist 3 that O'Rourke was rushed to hospital, where on February the 1st, 1988, O'Rourke passed away from complications due to septic shock. She was only 12 years old.
As Poltergeist 3 opens around the country, the memory of Heather O'Rourke continues to make headlines.
O'Rourke was truly destined to be an amazing actress, but sadly, her young life was cut short. It actually makes Poltergeist 3 kind of difficult to watch, because you can clearly see that O'Rourke is not well due to her facial swelling, and knowing that she is just about to pass away, it's like, come on, this kid is clearly not well. She needs medical attention, not a movie set. In fact, the passing of Heather O'Rourke seemed to really affect the director of Poltergeist 3, Gary Sherman, as after her passing, he didn't even want to work on the movie anymore, and I guess just wanted to leave it as an abandoned film, but the studio put pressure on him to complete it, with the movie having to be finished without Heather O'Rourke, with a body double being used for her scenes that she was now unable to star in. He was also a pallbearer at O'Rourke's funeral, giving an inkling into how much this must have affected him. Now, even as far back as 1988, the passing of O'Rourke got everyone talking, people started to link O'Rourke's passing with the passing of other cast members of the Poltergeist series, and thus come to the conclusion that the Poltergeist movies are cursed, and that the curse was ending the lives of several major cast members associated with the film series.
With the death of Heather O'Rourke and several other stars in the Poltergeist films, supermarket tabloids immediately began running stories of the films being jinxed.
After all, Poltergeist is the perfect film series for such an urban legend, as the movies are about angry ghosts seeking revenge on the living, creating an intriguing movie conspiracy storm. In fact, it seems the conspiracies and rumours of a poltergeist curse was so rampant, Zelda Rubinstein, who played a psychic in the movie called Tangina, did a TV interview and blatantly described the rumours of a curse as crap.
Heather died because of an undetected congenital anatomical defect. Julian Beck died from cancer in his mature years. Will Sampson passed away after receiving a heart-lung transplant. And Dominique Dunn died at the hands of an extremely ill-directed, passionate boyfriend. I think that it's pretty much a courtesy to put to an end this superstitious crap.
Okay, so the big question is, if the Poltergeist movies are cursed, then why? What could have possibly happened to unleash a supernatural hex on people associated with these movies? Well, it seems that over 20 years after the movie's release in the mid-2000s, a TV special about myths and legends was broadcast, in which Diana Freeling actress Jo Beth Williams explains that in a scene in the first movie, where her character is meant to be stuck in a muddy pool with rotten corpses, that real skeletons were actually used, despite the fact that she initially thought that these were prop skeletons, and that she was shocked to find out that they were indeed real.
In my innocence and naivete, I assumed that these were not real skeletons. I assumed that they were prop skeletons, made out of plastic or rubber or something. I found out, as did the whole crew, that they were using real skeletons. Because it's far too expensive to make skeletons out of rubber and stuff. And I think everybody got very creeped out by the idea of that.
Yes, it seemed that finally enthusiasts of the curse had the answers they were looking for, and that the film series was indeed cursed because of real skeletal remains being disrespected on the set of the first movie. And of course it all slips into place and makes sense, as Poltergeist itself is a movie about the consequences of disrespecting the remains of the dead, as if the movie is a self-fulfilling prophecy and has come true. Since then, other strange stories in regards to the Poltergeist movies have come out, such as Oliver Robbins, who played Robbie Freeling, who was nearly strangled to death on the set of the first movie when the evil clown doll prop that was meant to be attacking him in the film was actually choking this poor kid, with Spielberg and the crew just thinking that Robbins was giving a really great acting performance, when in actual fact he was being choked, but thankfully he survived and was okay. Also, Ryan actor Richard Lawson survived a plane crash, of which happened 10 years after the release of Poltergeist, and devastatingly this plane crash killed 24 people. And apparently there was weird energy on the set of Poltergeist 2, with strange occurrences happening, and Taylor actor Will Sampson felt that all the weird energy and occurrences was the result of unrestful spirits who were unhappy with the way skeletons were being treated in the Poltergeist movies.
Will went in and he felt that there was some alien spirits that were upset.
Where Will Sampson would go on to perform some kind of ritual exorcism on the set in order to heal the energy and stop the spirits from being angry. Oh, and a lot of these stories aren't from fans or conspiracy chat groups, but from the cast themselves. Craig T. Nelson, who played Steve Freeling, even said that the set of Poltergeist 2 was better once Sampson performed the exorcism.
Whatever it was, it worked, and there wasn't any problem after that.
Not to mention that in the following years, other members of the cast and crew associated with the Poltergeist movies would also pass away, including Dr. Lesh actress Beatrice Straight, the director of the first movie, Toby Hooper, the second movie's director, Brian Gibson, composer Jerry Goldsmith, Tangina actress Zelda Rubinstein, and Mr. Teague actor James Karen. Now, I think if there was a main face associated with the curse, it'll probably be the evil clown doll from the first movie. This sinister-looking prop terrorized many people who watched Poltergeist, and probably left them with a lifelong fear of clowns and dolls. Because I've always found that doll to be really scary and creepy, and I've just always thought it would be a really fun, cool thing to own. So I think it's a shame that I don't have it, because I would love to have this thing and have it on display. Oh wait, look! I do have it! Here he is, the Poltergeist clown doll. I put up pictures on my social medias of this prop, and to be honest, a lot of people agreed and thought that it was a pretty cool thing to have. Whereas others thought that I was mad for getting this and was like, how can I let that thing into my house? And oddly, with some of the replies, I got the feeling that some people thought that I let something dangerous into my house, that I was meddling with something that I should not be meddling with. Like as if the doll is generally evil. But if we were to believe that, then we would have to believe that the Poltergeist movie was real. But no, this is just a prop, it's not evil. Despite being a replica made by a company called Warbler Crafts, I think the fact that the responses were met with people who thought this prop was inherently evil and something that I should not have under any circumstances is important when it comes to discussing the Poltergeist curse. It shows the power of superstition and how invested we get into theories and conclusions, and how we get so passionate about them too, where owning something like the Poltergeist clown doll is seen as doing something dangerous or tampering with something I should not be tampering with. So to prove that this doll isn't evil or a ghoulish spirit, just like little Robbie Freeling in the movie, I'm going to sleep with the clown doll facing my bed as I sleep. Now I often hear people say, how could that kid sleep with that clown doll in the room facing him? How horrible must his parents be for putting it there? Well, tonight I'm going to do an experiment and do just that. Right, so here we are in my room where I'm getting ready to spend the night with this crazy clown staring at me just like in the movie. Now, as you can see, this clown is huge. And something you can also tell is he has lots of bells on him. So the lightest movement, there's lots of bells. So if there's any weird movement or any freaky deaky stuff going on, we'll know. So I've got a chair here, so we'll stick him on. Right, I've sat him down on a chair and I've got him facing the bed, just like we see in the movie Poltergeist. And to really get in the horror vibe, I've even got a Freddy Krueger bedspread going on. And I've also got an old TV there, just like from Poltergeist, just so we can really get in the mood and see if any freaky deaky stuff happen. And to be even more authentic, I've got this Captain America comic book, which if you watch the movie, little Robbie Freeling is in fact reading this. So let's get ready to turn out the lights and see what happens. I don't know about you guys, but that sure does look pretty spooky, and the lights are going off now. Just to let you know, I am going to leave the bathroom light on here, as well as my closet light, or otherwise we wouldn't be able to see him, and that would kind of defeat the purpose. Right, so here I am in bed now, and this is literally what I can see. Yeah, that's pretty f***ed. I'm not going to lie, that's pretty f***ed. So, I think, for the meantime, I think I'll just put on some TV first, before I go to sleep. Or at least try to go to sleep anyway. So anyway, yeah, I guess it's time to now turn off this TV. There's my foot. And try and go to sleep. Okay. It's about midnight now. It's about, 1 o'clock, 1:30. I fell asleep. Went into a deep sleep and then I've woken up. I would love to say that something exciting's happened, like maybe I've heard his bells jingle or something, but no, nothing like that's happened, so I'll try and go back to sleep. Yeah, well, it's now the morning, and clearly nothing bad happened. The clown just sat there. He didn't try and get up in the night and strangle me or anything. It's just a harmless prop that I got to sit there and look cool. But, yeah, I am going to take him out of my room now. I'll put him on display somewhere else in the house. So as you can see, this doll isn't evil and it wasn't possessed and I didn't die or get pulled into another dimension. It is generally a pretty cool prop. Nothing more, nothing less. To conclude, I don't think the Poltergeist curse is real. I do think that several people associated with the movies suffered some very unfortunate circumstances. But to me personally, I don't believe it's related to any supernatural curse. To say that all these deaths happened because of a curse kind of takes responsibility and accountability away from Dominic Dunne's murderer. In 2020, a documentary series called Cursed Films came out, which explored the Poltergeist curse, of which also featured movie special effects wizard Craig Reardon, who in fact did indeed work on Poltergeist. He seemed genuinely upset and appalled that people will link the deaths, in particular of Dominic Dunne and Heather O'Rourke, to skeletons being used on the set of the first Poltergeist, claiming that many movies that featured skeletons were in fact real skeletons, naming Universal's Frankenstein and House on Haunted Hill as a few examples. Supposedly, even the Goonies used real skeletons too. And it is also said that back then, the skeletons were provided by medical facilities from India, something that was actually addressed in the movie Return of the Living Dead.
Where do you get all these skeletons from?
Oh, they come from India. Oh,
India?
International treaty. All skeletons come from India.
And yes, in a weird twist, that bit of dialogue was provided by James Caron, who also played Mr. Teague in Poltergeist, the man responsible for the houses being built over the graves, and thus responsible for all the terror and chaos.
You only move the headstones!
Cursed Films also suggested that the subject matter used in Poltergeist lends itself so much to a supposed supernatural curse, and that if a movie like, say, City Slickers, would probably never have the possibility of having a curse attached to it, even if some of the cast members would subsequently pass away. So is it ghoulish and unethical to use real skeletons in movies? Well, according to Poltergeist's very own logic, yes. Once again, irony. But really, I guess it depends on your own taste and morals and outlook on life and or belief system. And this doesn't just happen in movies. Look at the world-famous Body Worlds exhibition, something that actually got a lot of acclaim and even featured in the James Bond movie Casino Royale. Not to mention all the cadavers used for medical research and textbooks and other training purposes. Now, I do think the idea of a fictional reality of a movie seeping out into the real world is exciting and would probably make for an interesting movie itself, and heck, that's kind of already happened several times. But let's not also forget the other facts of the case, of which it did concern real people. Real people who had lives who did sadly pass away, with an emphasis being put on the fact that these people were real. Now, I'm not saying don't believe, and I'm also not saying do believe. I mean, after all, I don't have definitive answers because I don't know all the secrets of the universe, unfortunately. But always question every aspect. When investigating strange circumstances, never leave a stone unturned, rather than just blindly believing something. So remember, if you ever hear a spooky story or urban legend around the campfire, always make up your own mind and always ask questions. Either way, the Poltergeist curse is a weird tale of pop culture.